All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, September the 21st of 2018, and this is the TRC sales training call. So today, I just want to give a little preamble as people roll in here. On the board behind me, Laura and I were just talking about the result of the mastermind yesterday. And one of the things I want to make very clear in a sales context is that if you're making sales calls, or you're going to visit people face to face, it really doesn't matter. What matters most, well, it matters. What matters is that you understand where your support cast is coming from. In other words, where are you getting help from? So on the board behind me, for those of you that aren't online, don't worry about it, it's all recorded. What I had is an explanation for her that today we're working with humans. You, me, we're humans. And that means we bring in a lot of human discretion into the process of selling or trying to help somebody buy or sell real estate. And what you need is a support cast. And your support cast is what we call content. And it's not new. I know that sounds like a good buzzword in this digital age. It's not new. Content is as old as them thar hills. It's the information as to why it's further information or documentation as to why they should end up doing business with you. So you need to understand that information's getting delivered in a variety of ways these days, thanks to the proliferation of all the digital technology, whether it be email, whether it be text, voice broadcast, voicemail drops, whatever it might be, that's all getting put out there for you to assist you in an automated way. But what I see is that a lot of you in this industry are falling backwards and abdicating responsibility to your content being delivered automatically. See, back then, in them our old days, you used to have to take printouts of properties, deliver them to people, get very physical. And that's why I've made a big deal about open houses, because open houses are really good, solid, old school ways to get in front of people with the physical manifestation or productization of your best stuff, your content, your plan. Every hero, buyer, seller, or agent needs guidance, and that comes in the form of plans and information. But as we've discussed, what they want for content is property information, pictures. People love pictures, video. They're consuming it like crazy. As we speak, I have 2 videos going, Instagram, Facebook. We're recording it digitally for an MP3. People love to consume content, especially visual content in the context of real estate. So get them out a heavy dose of what they want. Properties. Use the back end of your MLS. Get people in there. That's the source. Zillow and at all the rest of the gang, it's not the source. We're realtors. We put that stuff in there, explain to people how our business works, get them properties, especially, he said, and I say it every week, sold information. Get people properties of solds so that they know what the money bought. It's like you guys and gals get dumbfounded when you hear that. Huh? I've never heard of that before, you say. Well, of course you haven't, because you're not thinking simply. You're thinking too complicated, and you're thinking that the consumer already knows all of this, and that's not true. Consumer doesn't know what they don't know, and that's everything about how our business works, because they don't do it every day like you do. So get confidence back. I mean, I was really surprised in the campfire yesterday how afraid a couple of veterans were, and one of them belongs to me, Kate, right? You could just hear this stuck point because we're overthinking. Get them the properties that they want in the most physical format in an open house, hand it to them, and then upgrade them to digital and drip it to them. But then that's all there to support your phone call. And Adam, I'm going to put you and your team in the hot seat here today, that we are in the process of building these prospect caches, or the supply of prospects, so that we can have a steady, consistent business by having opportunity to serve people. Okay, that's very important. All right, here we go. *6, mute your microphone. If it is loud, I will put you in voice jail. Don't make me do that. I don't want to do that to you. Okay, I want you to participate. But Adam, I told him to bring his team in here in the hot seat, and I'm going to let you, Adam, when I open it up, take me in whatever direction that you want to take me. I know we talked about a lot, but for the benefit of your team, I want to really focus on that just down home, easy to do stuff by this weekend, meaning today ends up going to tomorrow, which is a Saturday, which is a fabulous opportunity to get out there face to face with people and prospect and give them what they want. All right, here we go. Adam, check. You good? Oh, hang on, dude.
Yes, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Yeah, obviously the market shifted quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I've got my opinions, but I wanted them to hear directly from you, kind of what you think about the market shift and what the most direct, effective use of immediate time would be for generating business.
Yeah, for sure. Who do we have? Who do we have in the hot seat with us at your company today? Let me just get one.
I've got a couple on the phone. So I've got John, Michelle, and Valerie.
Okay, John, Michelle, and Valerie. Hi, everybody. Hi, all. Yeah, are they there with you?
Yeah, we're here. We're all there.
All right, yeah. All right, John, Michelle, Valerie, give me a heartbeat. Let me hear your voices. I like voices. There we go. Thank you. All right. It's like the gym, huh? No iPods and segmenting yourself off here. You are three of you in the hot seat with me. John, kick us off here because you're outnumbered by the ladies. Tell me, in your estimation, what's happening in the marketplace out there in California? What's happening? Tell me in your words. John, come on, dude. That's the best. John, Brent. Yeah, but so what? Give me his in. So what? I don't care. You step back. Kachuk, you get in the back of the room now. All right? My hot seat is my hot seat. John, tell me in your intuition. I don't care how brand new you are. You got into real estate. You're paying attention. What do you think is going on? Because trust me, I'm going to help you know really in a micro way in a second. What do you think? What's your intuition tell you is happening in the market? Or you've heard Adam over say it or heard him over here. I can't speak today. Suffering fucking tash, right? You've heard it overheard, right? So tell me what you think is going on in that marketplace out there right now.
I mean, currently, and this is what I've heard from other agents, that the price of homes are dropping, switching more to being a buyer's market than a seller's.
Okay.
But I mean, that's only what my current knowledge is.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure how accurate.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like that you're questioning it. To you, what does buyer's market mean? What does that mean? Does that mean anything to you?
Means that there are more houses for sale than buyers currently, and that buyers have the advantage in the transaction. Okay, great. Thank you. Good job, because that was fine. So look, if you're going to be a realtor, you have to be ready to answer these questions, because this is what's going to happen in real life. When you start walking around with business cards and you start slapping them down on people's tables and saying, this is what I do, you want to be able to have some of your snippets that you know are accurate about the market. I'm going to teach you how to get beyond the hearsay and into the specifics. And you're going to become a market expert faster than a lot of those people who are waxing on poetic about buyer and seller markets. Michelle, hot seat.
Morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Same question to you. What's your intuition tell you is happening out there?
Well, a little bit what was said before. I think it's compounded by our interest rates have just eked up just a little bit.
Yeah.
And although based on historical averages, it's still well below where we've been, but for the most recent past, it's still kind of a shock to people that it is starting to move upwards a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So people are seeing their money not go quite as far.
Mm-hmm.
Our inventory in the Valley, we have more inventory now than we've had since 2013. So nationally, we're still well below the inventory, what do they call it, 3 months of inventory or whatever.
Yeah, good.
But still, it's still more than what we've had recently.
Okay.
So I think that the sellers, they have to be more willing to negotiate when they get offers than in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, good. Tell me your experience so I have a little bit of a framework. John, you are brand new licensed, never sold anything yet? Did I get that right from Adam?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Michelle, what's your background so I know what I'm dealing with here?
My
Okay, awesome. So you too.
4 years.
So you have it 4 years, but you're using it for the first time. Did I get that right?
No, I'm sorry. I renewed for the first time.
Renewed.
So.
Awesome. All right, exciting. Cool. Valerie, same question to you. What do you think is going on out there?
I think a lot of it is it is turning into more of a buyer's market, but we've also our prices are so high and the interest rates keep going up. You know, I've had people tell me that they think prices may come down and then they'd be more apt to buy, but right now they're being real picky because they can be. And our prices are pretty high comparatively speaking. The economy is doing well everywhere else, but it's like here in California, I think we have a different market than across the country. And right now, we're just, things are real slow. I think also some people say that the election's coming up. I know it's just the midterms, but typically markets slow before the elections because they kind of want to see what's going to happen.
Okay. All right.
And we're getting
all right, good. Stop.
Election.
Good. Stop. You're giving me exactly what I wanted, all three of you. And I'm going to break this down. Okay. So what I'm going to teach you today is stop letting the tail wag the dog. Okay. That's the first thing here. So thank you for playing my game and thank you for trusting me. I appreciate it. But you're letting the tail wag the dog, and I'm going to prove that to you. See, in this industry, what happens is we don't have enough push to educate ourselves at much more of a micro level to become the micro expert. So what happens is all three of you talked in very macro terms. There was a lot of macro. It's a buyer's versus a seller's market. I'm not even sure what that means myself. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's such a macro statement that gets thrown around in this industry like crazy that it's dangerous. Because I'll make the point very quickly on that one. You have no idea when you make a statement like that how well a buyer or seller could do in a one-on-one negotiation, or as my kids would say it when they're competing against each other, 1v1, right? That's a micro marketplace that has ultimately everything to do with everybody's motivation in that micro moment. So in the greatest of buyers markets, some seller might smash it because they've done such a good job of preparing their property for sale that there is just nothing that clean and turnkey, and they attract more people in that buyer's market. So it could be so it could be very product specific. So don't let the tail wag the dog when it comes to buyers in sellers markets, because what I'm teaching you here is something that I learned a better way to articulate just recently within the last 2 weeks. We are limited by our perspective. So if that's us in here training intensely, what does that mean for the consumer who has absolutely zero knowledge at a micro level in this business? They think they might have it because they read a blog or they watch a video, but unless you've been in the octagon of real estate, you have no idea what it's like to really micro negotiate in a situation. So John, to you, the way that you start to look at buyer versus seller's market and inventory, sure, there's real statistics involved in that discussion that might lead people there. But you have no proof of that, neither does the client, until you have statistics that show it. That's the key point to learn here. Is that right? And so all these people that they say, so until we have some real statistics, and then I'm going to go right into what Michelle starts talking about to go where I'm going with this. The Valley has X number of inventory. Michelle, how big is the Valley?
Oh gosh, probably 260 or 70,000.
It's a massive marketplace that you have no chance of covering or really making money talking about those statistics unless it's part of a moving towards a micro discussion. And we all make this mistake of not, and we just talked about this in the masterminds. I don't care whether you're a top producer or brand new. The biggest mistake we all make is not first focusing off fishing off the dock. Okay? being right there in Temecula, right? How big is Temecula?
About 120,000.
Okay, so we cut it in half. Now we're moving somewhere, right? See now, and that's just population. How many single family homes took place in all of Temecula, either in the last calendar year or the last running 12 months? See, because what you're going to find is that we want to be able to be articulate. I am not even in the field with you three yet. I don't even have you out there taking advantage of whatever the swing is yet, because we're not properly prepared, and I'm not going to put meat tenderizer on you and throw you to the wolves, right? You need to know what you're talking about in a very simple way. All three of you are paying MLS dues, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so in MLS, all we have to do is go in and say, okay, what is this lunatic talking about on a Friday, right? I'm trying to say that in Temecula, there's an area where you guys are sitting together. Yeah? We sitting in an office in Temecula?
Yes.
Okay. Are there some neighborhoods right around this office out of which you work that are really nice, that offer properties that are at least average for Temecula or above?
Yes.
Yes.
What are they called? Give me some names. Rattle it off like a brand. We got 120,000 population. Give me some brands for real estate.
Harveston.
Okay.
Wolf Creek.
Good.
Morgan Hill.
Good.
Meadowview.
Pick one of those. Awesome. Now we're getting somewhere. You all just rattled them off like what? Local experts. You knew them instantly. And it sounded better to everybody listening to this call because you gave me some names. Okay. Michelle, pick one of those that's the biggest inside of Temecula. How big is it? Guess if you don't know. Just guess.
Oh gosh. Like Harveston is probably the big.
Harveston?
That's a bigger one. Yeah. 1,000 homes.
Yeah, maybe 1,000 homes.
Okay, cool. Now we're getting somewhere. Now, again, if you guys, gals, the three of you are out and about and you're in, was it Harveston? Harveston, did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you guys and gals are out and about over the weekend in Harveston, for example, or in the locale that services residences from there, and you get into a real estate conversation, which is highly likely because you have food, air, water, shelter. Oh, really? Where are you from? Oh, you live in Harveston? Really? What street do you live in? Oh, that's great. You know, I just happened to be looking in MLS today, and what I noticed is that, boy, things were really increasing in price for quite some time, but I just noticed over the last 2 months, some big price reductions. Watch me do it to you. And I'm a veteran trying to get myself and my own book of business with Laura, my right-hand proxy. In Boston, we're trying to kick off a secondary book. Even though the company's there, I want to hyper know the product. So what did I do? I went into MLS and originally pulled a list of things that sold, looked at what was going on. But then my big suggestion is that all of you treat each other the way that we would a prospect at the highest level. Michelle, John, Valerie, I want you to go into MLS and I want you to set it up as if you are going to sell and buy. That means you need to get solds in Harveston and the other communities that you choose, as well as for sales, so that every day there's a daily update in your email at a hyper micro level. And when you open it up, you're going to look at the pictures. That's going to tell you the condition of the property. That's going to tell you whether it was staged, updated, etc. You're going to look then to the price that they finally got from the asking price. Is it above or below asking? That's going to give you an indication to the trend. And over time, what you're going to find is you become a micro expert in Harveston and the other contiguous areas. Now, what area is big enough? Well, we determined in the mastermind the other day to educate you, to make sure you know this information that we're waxing on macroly and we want to be micro. We go in there and we say, okay, about 300 sales is good enough because there's two sides, that's about 600. That's a big enough area to start with. Now, I'm not saying it's big enough for you all to make a healthy living. You might have to expand it a little bit more, but we fish off the intellectual dock where there's about 300 sales. So forget the population. We want to know if there's enough turnover there to provide real factual information about how real estate actually is working in these spots. You all three with me?
Yes.
Questions?
You're talking about 300 sales per year?
Yeah, about three.
Is that what you're...
Yeah. I think 300 sales a year, Adam, is going to get them home with enough data, because why? Every day they open up, presumably it averages one piece of information to educate them a day, right?
Got it.
That's my logic. No rocket science. So let me come back to you now. John, tell me what you just heard me say and what it means to you.
It means to me that I gotta find a spot that in Temecula, I suppose, and essentially just become, like you were saying, a micro expert of that spot, be able to talk about it, be able to know all the ins and outs of that area, and really just be able to show potential buyers and sellers, that I'm familiar with the area, that I'm the educated one, and that kind of thing.
Okay. And in a perfect world, you just got your license. Where did you want to work? Do you have a preferred neighborhood?
No.
Okay. So you see what happens here is that we just don't even know where we want to be yet. So I know what all real estate agents worry about, being made a fool of. That's what we worry about, sounding dumb. I think most people have that fear. So what I'm trying to do is say, look, by the weekend, tomorrow, if you guys and gals just spent a little bit of time in the back end of MLS, you could go back and say, what does the average price look like over the last couple of months? Is it trending up? Is it trending down? Are there more negotiations? Are they trending up? Or are we still outbidding stuff? That's real information in a smaller area. That's a manageable amount of information within which you can become expert. Michelle, make sense? Valerie, make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So now the question is, that's the information. But Valerie, what does the consumer want? Because I'm going to take you to an open house so that I want you to have this discussion by tomorrow with somebody. Right? So I don't know whether there's any inventory that you all could do an open house at tomorrow, but you can at least begin to talk to people about this information and just almost look for a general conversation. You're not asking anybody for anything. You're not going to jump all over anybody. You're just simply going to, try to get into a real estate conversation, because what most people ask when they find out you're a real estate agent is to ask what question? Anybody want to help me on that one in the group?
How's the market doing?
You got it. Amen. So number one question. The number one question is, how's the market? Right? So now I just spent all that time prepping you on how to be prepared to at least have some snippets about it. So now, Valerie, stay with me. When somebody wants to know how's the market, what do they want to know? Right? What do you think they want to know?
Am I overpaying?
Okay, thank you, Alan. That's cool. Maybe, but go ahead, Val.
If they're a buyer,
Yep.
if they're seller,
Yeah, cool. Anybody else want to jump in and help these three today? You can jump in.
Get the most house for the least amount of money.
Oh, yeah. Well, you say it laughingly, but is that, do you believe that's what they do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, because it was interesting. And even Alan came in and everybody went micro real quick, presuming that the conversation that I was trying to tee up here had to do with purchasing or selling. I was just saying that in a general conversation within Harveston, for an example, right, that there would be people that would probably just want to talk about the general market. I'm going to go all the way back to John. Is it a buyer or seller's market, right? Is it a buyer or seller's market? I mean, that's the general market. When we want to know how the stock market's doing, someone says, I'm a stockbroker. Oh, how's the market? It's almost like a knee-jerk reaction just to start conversation. But you can lean in and sound really intelligent, right? Say, well, it really depends on whether you're looking to buy or sell. I happen to focus in an area, the Temecula greater area, but really I pay a lot of attention to Harveston. And I'll tell you, when I look in Harveston, it's hard to believe the price reductions that are going on there. It's a pretty good time for a buyer. Well, I'm thinking about buying, but I was just going to wait. Well, why would you wait when it's already trending downwards? Why wouldn't you go in and just take a look at some of this stuff? I mean, there's people that have to sell right now, and they're a little bit panicky that they missed the top of the market. So why would you wait? See, now I start to just get into this logical flow if there is a personal interest with that person. You three tracking me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You can have some more enthusiasm. I know I sound like a lunatic, but I'm really trying to get up underneath you, right? Yeah, I know. Somebody can just jump up and do a backflip for me, right? I don't even have any coffee today. What's wrong with me? I'm excited.
You drinking those smoothies again?
Oh, yeah. She asked me if I was drinking.
Right now.
Yeah, it's the green smoothies. Yeah, the greens. See my face. If any of you are online, my face is like beet red from beets and greens and everything. Greens are more powerful than coffee, I'm finding out. So look, in all sincerity, I want you to come up with a couple of snippets about the area within which you're going to be this weekend. And I want you to practice talking about it. Okay. Say, I know a lot of people think that we've gone from a seller to buyer's market, but sellers can really do well. Now watch where I'm going. Okay. Stay with me and lean in on this one heavily. Now you have an opportunity to even go against the grain. So as the tail's wagging the dog, oh, it's a buyer's market. That's it for sellers, right? That's kind of what it always feels like to me. It's like some great real estate god looks down upon our industry and determines it is now a seller's market, right? It's absurd. Like, it is absurd. It's ridiculous. A well-prepared seller can do well in any market. Sure. I can't remember whether it was, I think it was Michelle or Valerie said about interest rates. You're not wrong. Interest rates are finally trending up. They've been held down, I think, artificially for too long. And that made everything go flying up. And it needs a normal economic correction. It needs it, because there is a point at which the purchase price far exceed the mortgage and the taxes and insurance and the principal, all those things, that come together. Principal, let me say it right. Principal and interest, taxes and insurance, that lump sum payment, if that far outpaces what it costs to rent, there's a flight to rentals, right? Why wouldn't I just shelter myself and rent? I may very well do that as an expert in Boston, right? So in the same breath as my market down here has never been easy, but my own house is on the market. I'm trying to price it right. I did everything I could do to really hyper condition it, stage it, get the best digital pictures we could, and do everything we could, regardless of the market circumstances, right? And that's the game. Now, as I look into Boston, it's cooling, but I may very well play smart and rent for 12 months and let it really cool or not. So there's a lot of things that are economic factors here that shift it. So there's no great declaration that one economic factor changes everything, because it's a micro business, one piece of real estate at a time. Hey, Michelle, if somebody comes in and pays with cash, interest rates no longer matter.
True.
Right? They no longer matter. And you know where cash lives? A lot at luxury. How about, yeah, Laura said under the mattress. Good answer, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? I don't want you all to limit your own perspectives based on what you don't know yet, right? So you're going to micro-educate yourselves. But where I was going with the big shift was, what they want is to know how the market's doing. What they want, if they're interested in doing something themselves, is what Alan hinted at. They want to know about property information. That starts with pictures and features and prices. Pictures and features and prices. Here's the picture, here's the features it offered, and here's what you have to pay, or here's what it got, right? Alan, you want to jump in on that since I called you back?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, it depends on, because we're going through the same change in the Dallas market right now. And, people want to know, they want to know, can they still sell their house at $1.3 million? And the buyers want to know, their concern is, their big concern now, well, if the market's falling, are we overpaying if we buy now? That's the next thing they want to know.
Yep. Yeah. And here's my answer to that. Hey, I don't have a crystal ball as to the ups and downs of the real estate market, but why are you making this move to begin with? Because your life is much more valuable than the local economic swing at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that you go out there and you overpay for something, but I think that as things are cooling, it's an awesome time for me to go out with buyers and find a great deal anyway, regardless of the circumstances. Every day in our industry, somebody dies and they have a property to sell. Somebody expires and they're really motivated and they just had the strategy wrong and they have to get out of here because they're hitting retirement age and they don't care. They don't care. We're not going to wait another 2 years, 3 years for the market. We're just going to make a decision today. So I think we always give ourselves as agents a boxed-in mentality of what really the limited factors are that we see, but we don't know somebody's real motivation till we get up underneath them and get in that conversation, right? Adam, you want to weigh in on this at all? Because then I want to give this pragmatic example of an open house other than just randomly meeting people in Harveston. You want to say anything before I do that?
Sure. I guess the conversation I always have with people when it comes to that is I make it very personal to them. When they come out and they say, oh, I overpaying, underselling my house, things like that, I just tell them, look, that's your life situation right now. And yes, I can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. If I told you, I'd be lying. However, if you look at your finances and where you're going to be, if you're comfortable making this decision moving forward, you think it's a good move for you and your family, then let's do it. If you don't feel good about it, you don't feel comfortable, then let's wait and see what happens. And I put it in that perspective for them.
I love it.
I definitely don't want back to me 6 months being like, oh, you put me in this bad situation. Like, no, let's take a good look at where you're at and what you can comfortably afford.
Right.
That's how I approach that situation.
Yeah. Fabulous.
And what's your time frame? I mean, what's your time frame? Like you said, if they're looking to get in and out, yeah, it's probably not tomorrow. I mean, you can't get this. It's not a commodity that you can get in and out of in a year. I mean, people need to look at what's their long terms when I ask,
Yeah. And here's the other thing. There's two different things happening. One is life is moving on and I need to go buy a property. Okay. So I think Tony Legendry's done a really good job of really pressing the conversation about why. Why are you moving to begin with? Why are you going to do this at all? And I think this is something you all have to be bold enough to really ask somebody because the timing and motivation matter a lot. I mean, if somebody only has a tacit motivation to move, then why are they in this process with you at that point? They can lay off. They can be long-term. You can put them in MLS, presuming they're not outside of 24 months. I wouldn't be building my book of business on stuff longer than that when there's plenty of people that want to buy inside of 12 months or sell inside of 12 months. I'd make 24 months my cap. We talk about that at the mastermind level. So I just be cautious of trying to go out too far with somebody. But you can get somebody properties and have a lighter touch on those people and say, look, if you want to watch the trends for a little bit, no problem. Why don't I put you on a feed that's going to give you every time something sells, you'll see, so that you don't feel like you're the only one making a decision. You're going to see that in up or down markets, properties sell. There's plenty of volume. So all this nonsense about buyers or sellers market, all you have to do is go in and look at it and say, well, the market's dead. Really? How many houses closed last year? How many trillions of dollars closed during the recession as people continued to move? So it's the why are you doing it? That's all I care about. And if you don't want to be in a tough situation financially, then let's go look to put you in a house where financially you're comfortable for the next 10 years. And nobody has a crystal ball in your job, but let's just say today, you're comfortable with that payment. Don't go get pre-qualified and put the water right under your chin. Get pre-qualified and look at something a little bit less than that so you have some flex. So then I think it even becomes more about their personal financial situation, right? So our job actually becomes more valuable. Let me make this case to the three rookies here today, or one is not a rookie, but the three people in the hot seat today. Let me make this case to you. What I'm trying to do is help you become much more valuable regardless of the circumstances, but especially in the circumstances. When there is a market change, a good informed real estate agent who is sharing that information and empowering that prospect is extremely valuable. When things are really good and there's a rising tide, a monkey can sell a house sometimes, right? So when things get discombobulated, finally, that's what I say to the real estate gods. Finally, you give me a marketplace where my differentiation as a professional can be clearly seen and clearly demonstrated. And that's the segue I want next. What everybody wants when they start to get interested, even if it's tacitly, they want property information. That's what they want. They want to look at real estate online, especially. You know, some like pictures of it that are physical, so they pick up the real estate guidebooks. Some still go on their app every 5 minutes to look at properties, even when they're supposed to be working. I get it. They want properties. But as it becomes more specific, what they need is you and your plan and your guidance. That's what they need. If you haven't noticed, the digital age has been around pretty robustly since 95 when Realtor.com gave away MLS for the first time. And we're in 2018 and everybody's got a cell phone for the most part. And we're still here, aren't we? There's still one of the largest associations in the country because we are valuable to people. Because once you get beyond the pure access to information, now you need guidance as to what I was just helping the three of you with is insight. Insight is a human thing. Information is not. You can just package up information, give it away, but your insight about what that information is what matters. So the more you can just, and you don't need a whole book of knowledge. You need a couple of pertinent snippets or talking points that are going to be relevant in your micro marketplace to micro buyers and sellers, right? That's what this is about. So now, how do you do that? How do you do that? Alan, you're doing it with agents, right? You're doing it with agents. Now we say, whether it's the buyer, seller, or like Alan's a recruiter as well, now we say, look, thanks for coming in to my world. And I told you a little bit about what's going on in Harveston, but what I'd really like to give you is my what to do wireframe. In other words, I have a plan so that if you are going to decide to sell your Harveston property, it's best to get this plan in your hands now so that you can be properly prepared. Some people wait till they're too late, right? If I give you my plan now, it's free, it's no obligation. Now, look, and here's the key line. This is a key line. Whether you decide to end up hiring me or not, I want you to have this plan because I know it will help you. Please trust me on that one line if you trust me on nothing else. Be a good steward of information that I give you. And by the way, if you're on this call, I have given it to my mastermind members who in turn have my permission to give it to you, who you in turn have permission to give it away. It is only what to do. It's information. It gives a wireframe so that if they wanted to sell their house by themselves or they wanted to go direct as buyers, those are the two things that every realtor fears. Great. Here's what to do. But when you get out there, let me just give you a little forewarning. This is not as easy as you might perceive it to be, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Seller. There's a lot of moving parts here, and you're going to probably need some how-to-do guidance. If you decide after I give you my what to do that you need how-to-do guidance and insight, I am absolutely ready and willing and able. Okay, so that's where on the campfire calls, when we dive into, and we just did one yesterday. So if you're on this call with Adam, you have access to those campfire calls where I broke down 7 steps to home seller success. It is the universal bone structure on how any house gets sold properly. Number 1, you have to talk about how to price it right. You don't like where you're at in that range, given your current condition, here's what to do to recondition it. You don't think that buyers are going to be able to see the vision? Here's how we're going to talk about staging. Then and only then are we going to package it up for marketing. Syndication marketing is going to send it out through the MLS to everyone, but we're going to push it through open houses. That's going to lead to real in-the-field communication with buyers and buyers' agents. That's going to allow me to come back to you and help you make any adjustments so that we arrive at negotiation, which I'm fully prepared for because I've already talked about pricing at right range with you as my first step. And I'm going to use that to protect you during negotiation. And I'm going to love you all the way until it really closes, crossing T's, dotting I's, so that nothing goes awry. I just gave you, in like 60 seconds, the universal how to do it that you should be able to share once somebody starts to lean in after you have demonstrated that you know how the market is, after you have listened to why they might want to be doing something personally, after you have offered to upgrade them into MLS to get solds and just listeds, then and only then have you earned your way in to offer your plan and guidance and insight. That, my friends, is the correct order of things. And I know that for certain because it's what I practice every day. And I've never had a better business as far as quality is concerned than we do right now. You want to weigh in on that at all? I'm talking to Laura, who's next to me and has been doing this with me for 12 years. Any thoughts there?
Sorry, I'm having ADD today.
That's okay. Yeah.
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 I was not listening.
Okay. She was not listening. Nobody's listening. I'm talking to the internet. If you're out there on the internet and you're listening to this recording, thank you. Thank you. All right. Anybody want to weigh in on that? That's one of my mastermind members. Yeah. Egan, I see you're out there.
I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Go ahead, Alan. Hit it.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, what you're saying, I made some notes. I love that, what you said, whether you decide to use me or, join our company, whoever you're dealing with or not, I want you to, please use this information that I've given you. And then, it may look like it's an easy process to do, but should you get caught up in the weeds and need some help down the road, I'm here to help you. And that gives you that opportunity for them to come back to you and hire you or join your company.
Well, again, it's the act of, and I think one of the big words for me that Voltaire nailed yesterday on the mastermind, Alan, was the word community, right?
Community.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the context of to whom are we speaking, we have our sphere of influence, the people that know, like, and trust us already in some capacity. If we have real estate context, we also have folks called past clients. So that's a very influenced already group. And so we're going to speak to them a little bit differently. In fact, we're going to say to them that we're in there, hey, I want to, as your friend, as your past guide, I want to keep you up to date on what's happening in the market because it ebbs and it flows. I want you to be able to speak intelligently about real estate through my information. So I'm going to put you on my newsletter so you can continue to be educated. I know you have no intent of selling the house I just, sold you, but it's important to understand the ups and downs and, more importantly, the home maintenance that you'll have to keep up with. So if you turn around and do tell me you want to move, you're ready, prepared. So that's your sphere. But then you go into this community and say, well, wait a minute. If I would do that for my friends and family, why wouldn't I do that for my community? And that's why when I took John, Michelle, and Valerie, folks, you now see my method to my madness, right? As much as I sounded like a madman in the beginning, I'm extremely intentional in helping you. I'm trying to say that between market info, property info, and plans, you have an obligation to your community. So how in the world could Michelle be obligated to the whole valley? Right? You can't. So you go to the dock and you fish Michelle off the dock first. And you make the dock as small as possible, but not too small so that nobody's hearing you in the wind, right? And so that's an intuitive thing. And that's why I gave you some guidelines to the best of my ability, but all geographies live a little bit differently. So if I live in a very, very, very rural place, then I'm probably going to have to be moving around more physically to events or going somewhere. Whereas I live in a city, I can walk out and stay in one section. If you want to Google map it, you can see that I have a hyper focus on educating myself about the Back Bay of Boston. Go look at it on a Google map. Physically, it's a small spot.
The 3 streets.
Right. Physically, it's a very small spot. And Beacon Hill is its contiguous partner, and that's a small spot. But there's intense community in those places. There's just a lot to know, and there's a lot to learn. And it's a very robust, dense place. So you want to be tuned in to the unique characteristics of those places. Believe it or not, people in Beacon Hill frown on people in Back Bay, to a certain extent. I wouldn't live in the Back Bay. Oh, really? Well, if you trip, you're going to fall into the Back Bay this afternoon, right? So it's interesting to see.
Touch and feel there is so different.
And
they are so close.
There you go, right? So that the characteristics of these micro areas really matter, and to become more locally, hyper locally expert is definitely the thing to do. All right, let's go to some Q&A here. Anybody want to give me, hey, Charlie Egan, you had a question for me. Hey, Adam, John, Michelle, Valerie, bravo. You good with me? or do you want me to give you one anecdote quickly about how to apply this as open house, or is it just too early for that, Adam? Your call.
Yeah, I'm going to open house tomorrow with John.
Okay. Very simply put, if you go to Griffin Realty Group Facebook page and scroll down to last weekend, you will see me doing a live Facebook video of me, and you catch a glimpse of what I have on the counter. And I'm right next to the door where people walk in. Number one, and most critically, you sit there like a maitre d' at a restaurant. This is your joint. You are in control. Big theme here, don't let the tail wag the dog. Hi, thanks for coming to the open house. The seller has asked that I have everybody sign in. Period. Well, what if they don't? Period. This is a private residence. We have offered acceptance to the public to come in and see it today. But the seller has requested, as part of that agreement to let the public in, you sign in. Period. Control that. That's your show. So now when they put their information down, you observe. Are they really putting their information? Are they tacitly putting it down? And most importantly, on the form that we use, it says, who's your realtor? Right? So if they put nothing, radar goes up a little bit for you because you're prospecting. First, for the seller who's kind enough to bless us with their listing, we want to try to make a market that day for that thing right there. But the probability that that happens might be slim. So we have everybody sign in so we can now say, okay, what sort of help do they need? The sellers ask that you all sign in. Once you finish doing that, the feature sheet for the property is right next to the sign-in sheet. But over there next to it, and I'm not going to mention it yet to them, over there next to it is a printout of other properties that are for sale in that price range, in that micro area, in case they don't like this one. And here's your insight. There's also in that magazine copy, that's when I say magazine, what do we do, 6 up or 9 up? 6 up, 3 pictures and descriptions per page. We do a radius around it. We get some more for sales, and we definitely put in solds.
We don't even put in active, which we used to.
Yeah.
There's a distinction.
So what she's saying is we should put in actives as an alternative.
For our comms?
No, not comps. No. These are the giveaways in open house. You really do have ADD today.
I'm bad.
Holy
I have
moly.
long videos
Oh,
with
of
these
all
things I have to
people,
do.
you're sitting here embarrassed. No, I'm kidding. So look, Adam, now I have Now I have a physical manifestation of other for sales and solds I can give as a gift. Why, Adam? Because if they don't like this one, they still want what they want, access to properties that are interesting to them. Now, if they don't have a realtor and I get into it with them a little bit, I now, right next to that, have my plan in infographic form and full print magazine. But I'm not going to go down that funnel unless I know it's appropriate. And if it is appropriate, I am prepared to go. So there's your open house tip. Yeah, somebody just jumped in and wanted to ask something there. Who was that? Was that you, Alan, again? Oh, Georgie.
No, that was me.
Go, George.
Yep. On your giveaway there, you said you got 3 acts. Is that a CMA for that property or?
Oh, it's a good question.
I missed.
Yeah, that's a good question, George. Let me clarify it. Here's what I'm saying, George. When somebody comes to a house, they come there because they're curious about the house. I'm not going to argue whether they're tire kicking or serious for the moment. Let's just presume they like real estate, right? And that's what they're doing. From their apps to open houses to whatever. Newspapers, they're coming to these houses. They walk through the door. I ask them to sign in and I give them what they want, the feature sheet to this property. But there's a likelihood that that's not the only property at that moment in time they're interested in. So I'm prepared with my branding at the bottom of an additional batch that could be called a CMA if you want to, because it does have actives and it does have solds. I could use that same information to price something, sure. I don't like to call it a CMA. I'm calling it in this context a giveaway, a physical manifestation of other properties. Why? Because it's a real pain in the neck to go on your phone and keep looking at some app to try to find what's available. Here it is printed out, the good old-fashioned way. People love it. It's like giving you a magazine of everything that's relevant to that one property, George. It's a giveaway of physically printed for sales and solds. But George, why is it a good entree into relationship? Because it's the gift of what they want, which allows me to say, hey, by the way, I noticed you're running around with your app and you're looking for properties the hard way. What I'd be happy to do, and I noticed you put down all your information there and you're not working with somebody necessarily. I'd be happy to put you into the source. It's called multiple listing service. I don't know if you're aware of it, but it's the source for everything that goes out to these apps. So that list that I just gave you, that could actually be automatically sent to you, right? Every time something sells in this price range in this area or something comes for sale. So it's a good entree up into my upgrade offer where I want some continuity of content going out so that I can build relationship. So that's a very specific reason for having that in the house. You got it?
Yep. And that's that local neighborhood, correct?
That's it. Well, George, think about it.
If it's not a rural area.
George, they came to see that house. So I might give it some variance, a little bit less than that house, a little bit more. If it's unique, then maybe I'll go further out in the geography. If it's waterfront and I have to go further out, hey, I put a list of all the waterfront properties that are a little bit below this price and a little bit above. And I also showed you what they sold for. So you think this is somebody coming to you all. Be prepared to say, hey, you came to this one. Maybe this is too much. Here's a few that are a little bit less. Here's some that are more here. But you understand that now that I know you and I'm listening to what's important to you, I could automatically put you into the back end and send what really matters to you and even give you my insight. You got it? Pretty straightforward. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Right? Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Charlie Egan.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. You had a question. Yeah, but you had a question that you texted me. And I think it might have been about open houses, was it? But I got it right before the call. So go ahead.
Yes. I'm starting from scratch up here in Santa Barbara, and I want to utilize the open houses for opportunities of getting leads. And you suggested telling the buyers when they come in that the seller wanted them to sign in, and offering the various things that I can do to them. So I just wanted to kind of go over that and optimize the opportunities I have with new people coming in.
Sure. So I'll slow it all down, but I'll go back to the beginning because there's a couple things I should probably add to this. Number one, I've had people say to me, agents say to me, well, what if the seller doesn't ask me to have them sign in? Well, hold on. There's the tail wagging the dog again. You've been hired, and I'm not saying, Charlie, you're thinking this. I just want to make this clear. You've been hired to run the show by the seller who trusts you.
Yeah.
They don't know how to run an open house. You do.
Yeah.
You do. So how about just from a security standpoint? Isn't it smart business practice at an open house to have people sign in? Sure it is. Now you say the seller is saying it because you've suggested that the seller think like this and you're the boss.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anybody out there listening to this that gets hung up on that, don't. You're in charge, and that's the best practice. Everybody signs in, even if they scribble it. Now, will I let somebody slide who I really know lives right next door? Sure. Like if I really know that they're there, am I going to grapple with them? No, because really, where do you live? Which house? Oh, really? Right down there? Well, good. Why don't you help me sell this? Here, give me a feature sheet. Why don't you just put your name and email down anyway so I can send you over, what happens? You know what I mean? Just keep going at people because you're in control of it. And what it will do, I always hear this pushback. Well, they were uneasy about signing or they got mad. They got mad? Yeah, they got mad at what? And even I'm very logical when I speak. Well, what are you mad about? You just came into this open house. I just asked you to sign in. What's the big deal? Right? Don't want to sign in? Good. I'll walk around with you side by side so I don't make sure you don't steal anything. You see the absurdity in it? Right? Right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I just...
One of the other One of the other ones that one of the guys in our company does, because then they don't want to sign in. He says, you know what, I understand, but that's what the sellers have asked. So why don't we do this? Why don't we schedule a private showing, just you and me?
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yeah. And again, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, but I love that, by the way. That's even better than what I said. But what I don't want to do, is lose what I'm trying to teach here. And that is, I'm here in a coaching capacity to empower all of you. I want you to be set up for success when you go into this open house. This is your opportunity to make an instant market for that property. Wouldn't that be fabulous if I could teach you how to do that? Run it as a maitre d', have people sign in, give them the feature sheet, and look for the person. Even if they have a real estate agent already, look for the one who's the most interested in that property. That's your obligation to the seller, and that's what you're supposed to be doing first and foremost. But we all know the reality, and so does your seller. No, the reality is that that's just traffic. And that a lot of these people are going to come in, and we call them unencumbered. They're not in a relationship with another real estate agent. I know you all think they are, or they put a name down, or they say they are, but most of the time, they're not really in a deep relationship. When they are, you'll know it because they'll say it. I'm working with Sally. Oh, Sally's a great girl. Yep, we know her from here. You'll know when they're really in relationship with an agent. You'll know. And so there's a lot of them still that aren't. Now you start to ease your way into the whole thing, because you'll hear them say, what? This bathroom's too small. Well, you know what? Hey, before you leave, over on the counter, I have a printout of other properties that might match your criteria, and the addresses are on there. Feel free to drive by. By the way, all I ask is that if you drive by those things I just gave you, would you give me a shout and I'll set it up? Because I don't know if you're aware of it, but buyer agency is free. It's explained right there on my infographic and my buyer course. Let me stuff that in with you too. Boom. Why is that hard to do?
It's not. It's just doing.
Right. Just that's not hard.
Yeah, that's great.
Every single one of you can have a conversation that flows like that. But if you get all weird, like you're trying to, hey, here's my course. Hey, here's my thing. You've lost the conversational tone. But being set up for the best cases and not sitting there going, what do? I go crazy when the stuff in the open house is not right? I blow you up in a weekend. I'll blow her up in a weekend. I don't care who she's with. I'll fight her kid. How old is he now? 2? Is he old enough to fight?
1.
No, but I will. I'll blow her up because I'm like Rain Man. I want to be set up for success. And we're even going further all the time, because now when I'm in the house and somebody's really interested and I don't have the septic plan right there in my hands, I don't have the plot plan right. No, I'm just kidding. Right there in my plans. Charlie, we're trying to go above and beyond at this moment in time to make sure that not only do we have everything I reference, but for the person who really does want to know pertinent questions. And out here in Cape Cod, there's a lot of septic systems, and that affects, can you put a pool in or not? So there's a lot of stuff that goes on there that, you really have to consider. Does that help? She's laughing today.
I'm laughing as our seller in our country handed me the septic plan. He's like, we'll see if you can sell the house first. I'm like, what?
Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting one. Yeah. Yeah. See, sometimes you just get some sellers that I think are incorrigible too. So it becomes a challenge too, to get everybody to march in line. But anyway, I gave you your thoughts there. I hope that was good, Charlie. Did you get it?
Yeah, I did. I'm also, I generally, there's a kitchen table or something, and I could lay out, listings nearby that are comparable. Do you also suggest putting sold properties out there?
That's exactly what I said. For sure. Charlie.
That's what you said. Okay.
Charlie,
okay.
If you all take nothing away from me but this, when you give anybody the back end of your MLS, which you all should be using, forget your IDX site, go straight to the source, use your CRM in the back end. You've got to give buyers, hear me say this, sold properties too, so that they see what the money is actually buying. That's insight. Any monkey can give away, for sales, but how many of those expire? How many of those are, just confusing? You give those plus what it sells for, because that begins to educate somebody on how the market is. You see all these asking prices? You think that's the price? It's white hot here. Everybody's paying an average of 105%. Watch the solds, you'll see them. That's where you cross the Rubicon. Stop acting like everybody else does because there's no differentiation in it, is what I say. You start to talk about sold properties, okay?
Got it.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Final bonus round. Anybody have something burning? Because it's the last moment. Yeah or no? All right. Hearing none, that's it. Go have a good weekend. Get in an open house and practice this stuff. See you on the other side. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
You bet.
Thanks, Danny.
You bet.
The conference is now completed. Goodbye.